Hi everyone, let's have a look at Algebra 101. What we're going to do is go through a bunch of different terminology, names for things. So you're already familiar with things like 1, 3, 1000, minus 10, 1/5. All of those things we can collectively call numerals. This shouldn't be a surprise to you. You've heard that word before, I'm sure. Numerals, numbers. We also have A, G, X, Y. What else could it be? Could be alpha, could be beta, could be Greek letters, can be all sorts of things, right? These are called pronumerals. Doesn't mean they're like professional numerals or whatever. A pronumeral, I guess it's indicating that it's like a numeral, but it's not actually a numeral. It's kind of standing in for a numeral, like a code, I guess you could say. And generally, these pronumerals are used to represent, they're representing a number, maybe, but they're either representing an unknown value. So, you know, G could be worth 6, for example, or X could be worth 1 billion. They could be standing for a number that is unknown, or they could be what we call a variable. And if something is variable, that means it can change. So it could be that it's standing for a quantity that can have lots of different variables. So, for example, if I said that, tickets to the movies are going to cost, let's say, I don't know how much are they? Let's say $13 times X, right? If I said that the tickets to the movies are going to be 13 times X, what would X be? Let's say I'm going with a group of friends, and I wasn't sure how many friends are going to come along, maybe just 2 friends. In that case, X would mean 2. And, my tickets are going to cost 13 times 2. Or if I was taking 10 friends along, then X would be equal to 10, and it would be 13 times 10. Okay? So in this case, X could be pretty much any whole number greater than 1. That's assuming I have a friend, right? So 13 times the number of my friends would tell me the total. So that there is X being a pronumeral where it's representing a variable amount. Now, in algebra, or just a note about writing things in algebra, you notice how I wrote the multiplication symbol there? And I wrote my X like this. So the reason I wrote it like this, guess why? So I don't get it mixed up with that, right? So I write X by doing like a backwards C and a C that join together like that. You can also do it like fancy pants like that. That's okay as well, all right? But it has to be distinguishable from a multiplication sign. Otherwise, it's going to lead to problems down the track. Now, in algebra, we kind of get around this anyway, because when we put numbers together like this, if we have a number, a numeral, in front of a pronumeral, then that means 13 times X. Putting the number in front of the pronumeral means times it. It's like saying I've got 13 X's. If I say I've got 13 X's, it means I've got 13 lots of X, 13 times X. Or if I said I had 12 bananas, that means I've got 12 times 1 banana, 12 bananas. So, in English, we don't say, I've got 12 times that. We say, I've got 12 of them, or I've got 12 cats, or 2 dogs. I leave out the of even. So, in algebra, we're kind of writing things the way we say them. I've got 13x, I've got 13 lots of x. So when you see a number in front of a letter like that, a numeral in front of a pronumeral, we would say that we are multiplying every single time. So What else? Okay, other words that we need to know. When we do put a pronumeral in front of when we do put a numeral in front of a pronumeral, here's our pronumeral, we call that the coefficient. Why? Because we do. Okay. Well, you know, co means with. Cooperate means to work together, for example, to operate together. Codependent means you're really dependent on somebody else. Coefficient, I'm not sure what the efficient part of the word means here, other than it goes with the pronumeral. So coefficient is the number in front of a pronumeral. So when you see that word in the text and it's saying, you know, what is the coefficient in this piece of information? You go to coefficient is 13. So take a second. If I had 5y, what's the pronumeral? The y is the pronumeral, right? What's the coefficient? 5 is the coefficient. All right, so I feel like we've covered a little bit of ground already. Now we can string these things together in a longer sentence, right? So let's say, I'm going to make a little box over here to write my little sentence in, and then I'm going to label it. Let's say I had 5y, then I'm going to maybe add 2x, and then I'm going to subtract 7. So I've got like 3 things here. I've got 5 lots of y, I've got 2 lots of x, and I've got -7, which is just -7. And it probably won't surprise you that we've got specific words that we use for all of these things. So, you know, we already have, I'm going to change colour, I don't think I can actually tell the colour. We've already got these two here are the pronumerals, right? Pronumerals. And we know that these two numbers out the front here are called coefficients. 5 is the coefficient of y, and 2 is the coefficient of x. This one over here that doesn't have a pronumeral, we just call that the constant term. That's the constant term. It's because whatever I do, it's always 7. X could be equal to 1, in which case this bit here would be 2 times 1, which is 2. Or x could be equal to 5, and if x is equal to 5, this middle bit here will be 2 times 5, which is 10. So these terms here are variable. This is not, it's a constant term. Which actually brings up that I haven't told you that if we have a 2 and an x together in a sentence like this, that's a term. 5y is also a term. So this number sentence itself is called an expression. Our numbers are expressing themselves. And in our expression, we have got 3 terms. And how you can tell that something is a term is that you can look to see if there are pluses and minuses between them. So there is a plus between 5y and 2x, and there's a negative between 2x and 7. So, you know, terms are separated by a plus or a minus. That's how we know how many terms there are. There are 3 terms in this expression, and we have one constant term, we have a term that has a y in it, we have a term that has an x in it, and we have a term that's got 5 as coefficient, and we've got a term that's got 2 as a coefficient. So how are we going with this? Hopefully not too badly. Get you to pause the video and take down some notes. I want you to, in particular, pay attention to this part here. I want you to represent an expression. You can make up your own expression with 3 terms in it. You could do, what do you know, if your first name starts with X, you could have 2X. If your first name starts with J, you can have 2J, whatever. or pick your favorite numbers, make an expression, label the pronumerals, label the coefficients. We've got 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms, and make sure you separate them with either pluses or minuses. Okay, so do that now, please.